Hey guys, welcome to the video. Today we're going to be talking about what is a sales frame. Now make sure you stay towards the end because if you've ever been ghosted in a sales conversation, I'm going to teach you how to make sure that that happens way less. So let's get into it. What's a sales frame? So a sales frame, put simply, is who is in control of the conversation. Where does the balance of power lie within a sales conversation that's happening at the moment? And the best quote that I've found that explains this is one of he who asks the questions is in control of the frame. And then he who speaks the most is not in control of the frame. So if you think about your sales conversations at the moment, are you talking way more than your potential prospect is? Or are you the one asking lots of questions and letting them talk and sell themselves to you? And what I want you to imagine is every single time that your prospect is speaking or answering your questions, they move themselves closer like this. Every time you speak, you move yourself further away. So the goal is to maintain a frame is to only share what really needs to be shared from your half, but to get this prospect to start, answering your questions and moving closer towards you. So the best frame that you can take as a salesperson or a consultant is one of the consultative or the consultant frame. Now what that means is a consultant frame has three key elements. Number one, it's super curious. And what that means is everything the prospect says is super interesting. Or you hold no judgments and no assumptions about what they say, and you explore what it is that they're saying. So they might say something along the lines of, I've been in my business for the last 6 years. And so what the consultant does, tell me more about that. What have you been doing? What kind of numbers have you achieved in the last 6 years? Who do you work with? What kind of clients are great for you? And this would be curiosity, turning up the curiosity, making no assumptions. The second thing is no judgment. And so the consultative doesn't judge the person in front of them for what they're saying. They take it on, they listen to it, they turn up the curiosity, and they ask more questions. Under the non-judgment is also they be realistic. And so there's a phrase called taking off the rose-tinted glasses, which means when you're talking with someone on a sales conversation is not a normal conversation. Sales conversation holds within it the presupposition that we're going to talk about stuff that actually matters. And that might be a little bit prickly because there's some truths that you need to hear. Because most people, when it comes to making a decision or making a buying decision, is they're living in a world where they're not quite being truly honest with themselves. So they might say that, things are not really that great. Let's talk about business coaching for a moment. Things are okay, but it's not really a problem. Meanwhile, their income's going up and down like this. They have like a $3,000 month, a $10,000 month. And so they're not realizing that the inconsistency of their income is actually a problem. So what the consultant does is it helps highlight that by taking off the rose-tinted glasses. It says, well, actually, your income's inconsistent, if we're being really honest. So there's a degree of directness, honesty, and non-judgment. Now, the biggest mistake that I see is that when taking on the consultant frame, there's not enough personality, there's not enough energy, and it's too many questions. So you don't want to do the interrogator, which is, what do you think of this? 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 And there's an energy behind the interrogator that actually shuts the person that you're talking to off. So we don't want that. We don't want the interrogator energy. So how you combat that is you acknowledge what they're saying. Say, okay, cool, I'm hearing it. Anything else? And there's a softness to your energy. It's a soft curiosity. It's not this, you have information that I need. Another way to think about a frame, and it's popularized in a book by Oren Klaff called Pitch Anything, is it's kind of like a doctor. So a doctor is very matter of fact. If you had symptoms that were correlating to some kind of illness, they're not like, oh my God, you have this illness. You're so screwed. That you don't ever see that from a doctor. There's a degree of matter of factness of, yep, this is just the way it is. Unfortunately, it's like you have this bedside manner. I think that's the word, bedside manner, that they just say it how it is. There's no sugarcoating. And the doctor just prescribes the solution based on the symptoms. It prescribes medicine based on the symptoms. And it's exactly what the consultant frame does. So how do we stop ourselves from getting ghosted at the end of the conversation? One of the biggest frame mistakes, excuse the dogs in the background, one of the biggest frame mistakes I see is that at the end of a call, you're not getting investment from the prospect to come back to the next call. So let's say, for example, the call ends like this. The person says, I need to think about it. And contrary to popular belief, I believe people can think about stuff. They don't have to not think about things. That's Sorry, the dogs go nuts in the background. The prospect is allowed to think about things. It doesn't make you. It doesn't hurt the conversation prior to most kind of coaching, because we're not trying to convince anyone. If someone wants to talk to their partner, they're more than welcome to talk to their partner, right? If someone needs to think about it, the nice thing to do is to let them think about it. That's totally okay. So letting someone think about it is not the problem. The problem is you're not getting any investment for them leaving and coming back later. What I mean by that is, if someone says, I need to think about it, and you say, yep, that's fine, and you don't set another meeting, you've given them the frame and given them permission to set the agenda next time. Like, they can come back whenever they want, rather than saying, okay, you can think about it, but in order to think about it, what I'd like you to do is set another meeting with us. So how about we catch up same time, couple of days from now. You can take 2 days to think about it, talk to your wife, do all the things that you need to do, but you'll come back and you'll speak to me. Is that cool? And if you get agreement to this, you've actually maintained the frame. The frame is in your court. They have to come back to you, and they would have to break their word that they agreed to in order to, instead of just being able to leave because you've set no consequence. So this is how we stop ourselves being ghosted, or at least dramatically reduce it, is make sure you get some kind of investment from the prospect. So if you liked this and you want to see more about how to close more deals without sounding salesy and some dogs in the background, then come check out our series about the 4 buying archetypes. So in this series, we talk about the warriors, we talk about the healers, we talk about wizards, and we talk about jesters. And all of this together will teach you how to adapt your sales conversation to close more deals without sounding sleazy.